With a worried expression, Xiao Chan placed one hand on Zhang's chest and the other on his back. She helped him stand up and said it was all her fault for being useless. Zhang, who had his eyes closed, stood up, clenched his fist, and with a sincere expression asked her not to feel guilty, since if it weren't for her power to foresee the future, he would never have won this battle. Xiao Chan's eyes widened with sadness. She looked away and mentioned that Zhang was praising her too much. Then a system window appeared. It showed Xiao Chan's statistics. She had been born at the source of the river of time, existed at the same level as time itself, and had an ability called Eye of Time which allowed her to see 3 seconds into the future by consuming 10 sub-bodies, being an accumulable ability with a maximum capacity of seeing 10 years into the future. Currently she was level 0, had an affinity of 100 stars and 18 sub-bodies. Initially she had 48 but had already consumed 30 during combat against the Spider Queen. Her talent was still yet to be unlocked. In addition, she had 2 reproduction methods. The first, called natural reproduction, in which only the main body could generate sub-bodies, 1 per hour. The second method was called special reproduction, where the host could sacrifice their lifespan. Minimum 1 year, each year of lifespan generated 1,000,000 sub-bodies. Zhang's eyes filled with tranquility. He touched his head with his fingers and decided to rest for a while, promising Xiao Chan that he was going to be fine, giving her the order to hide for now and not emerge unless it was absolutely necessary. Xiao Chan's body transformed into energy and entered Zhang's head. Just then, Zhang's domain became stronger, causing thunder to start emerging from it. The attention of Jai Gang and the others who were on the cliff focused on Zhang's domain. Our boy was in the 3rd transformation, and no one could believe that he already had a domain, when normally one would have a domain upon reaching the 6th transformation. Some thought having 2 divine-level classes was incredible. Everyone began to watch in silence. The eyes of Yinzhan, who had his hand over the wound on his arm, widened with rage and despair. Zhang was fighting alone against the level 8 Spider Queen, while on the other side, he was hiding. And if it weren't for the spiritual pills he carried with him, he would probably already be crippled. They were all divine-level awakened ones, but Zhang Chen could crush them as if nothing. While Yinzhan was distracted, Zhang Wuxuang placed a hand on his shoulder and decided to calm him down. With a sincere gaze, Yinzhan admitted that it was frustrating to be from the same generation as Zhang Chen. As a descendant of the human emperor, he wasn't going to give up and swore to one day surpass Zhang. If his talent wasn't enough, then he was even willing to go into the depths of the caverns in search of an opportunity. Lu Sandao, who had her eyes closed, explained that Jiang's talent was extraordinary and any effort to surpass him was useless. Yinzhan's attention focused on her, and those words were like an arrow in his heart. At the same time, the members of the blood cult were at Ku Jiang's underground altar. They formed a circle, and in the middle was the highest-ranking member, who used her powers and summoned a red magic circle. She communicated with the great god, saying that she was his faithful servant, the 7th seat of the Church of the Ancient God. She knelt down, placed her hand on the ground, and with a serious expression informed God that the beast tide had encountered some problems, revealing that someone from Great Zia had the ability to control the offspring of the 9 miasma wings. Just then, evil energy began to emerge from the magic circle. For God, this was impossible. A giant eye appeared in the sky and began to shine with hatred. God's attention focused on his subordinate. He remembered that the offspring of 9 miasma wings had always been a forbidden existence in all eras, and if Zhang Zunji dared to allow his people to raise them, then he would be an enemy of all races. She knelt before him, raised her head and promised that she was telling the truth. Using her powers, she summoned a portal which began to show the insects that were devouring the corpses of the beasts. Upon seeing this, the god could not help but feel furious. According to him, Jiang Zongji had to die and all humanity of Great Zia had to. The subordinate's eyes widened with worry and fear. With a nervous expression, she asked the god to calm down since she had sent the Spider Queen to prevent any unforeseen events. The god's attention fixed on her and his eye began to shine with rage. He used his powers, causing evil energy to begin entering her body, and not long after she opened her mouth and began screaming in agony. The energy of the god began to enter her body, causing her eyes to start glowing. He decided to transfer a bit of his energy into her body, revealing that in a short time, she was going to have the strength of an awakened one with 9 transformations. The god gave her the order to annihilate the descendants of the 9 miasma wings and kill Jang, making it clear that even if she had to sacrifice all beings in the city, she must make his descent possible. 10 minutes later, once the god's energy fully entered her body, her eyes began to glow with evil. She knelt before the god, and with a determined gaze promised to fulfill the mission. The god began staring at her, and with an angry look revealed that the Spider Queen had been defeated, giving his subordinate the order to go immediately and recover the divine soul of the queen, since a level 8 divine soul could serve for sacrifice. She prostrated herself before the god, lowered her head and decided to go immediately. At the same time, on the defense line of the dragon submerged in the underground cave, Jiang Xuanji tightly gripped his axe, and while his body was surrounded by a powerful energy, he swung it forcefully. Tuyong reacted in time and blocked the attack, but in the process his weapon shattered into pieces. Seeing this, his eyes widened with confusion. While they were fighting, the attention of the soldiers focused on them. Jiang Xuanji clenched his fist and his eyes began to shine with excitement and a smile appeared on his face. He strongly stomped on Tuyong's chest, admitting that Tuyong was right. He wasn't going to make it in time to collect the corpses of the geniuses, revealing that what he was going to collect now was going to be the corpse of the Spider Queen. At that moment, a red portal appeared and from an evil energy began to emerge. Jiang Xuanji turned around and fixed his gaze on it. Tuyong stepped aside, asking if Jiang Xuanji believed that the Spider Queen was their last secret card. Tuyong took advantage of Jiang Xuanji being distracted to step back. Jiang Xuanji began to observe the portal and his eyes filled with confusion, realizing that it was an alert. An enemy of 9 transformations had appeared in Chujiang. He did not know if this was the work of the demonic race. Tuyong stood up and while his eyes were shining with evil, he began to point at Jiang Xuanji with his finger and decided to play hide and seek. He was going to hide and Jiang Xuanji had to find him, and if at any moment he decided to flee early, he would launch an attack on the city with all his army. Jiang Xuanji turned around and began staring at Tuyong. He knew that the demons were crossing the line, but seeing that he wanted to play hide and seek, he decided to play with him until the end. Jiang Xuanji's eyes began to shine with rage. He raised his axe in the air and gave the order to the God Slayer army to kill the enemy. Upon hearing the order, all the soldiers raised their weapons and began to charge against Tuyong. Jiang Xuanji's soldiers began to fight against Tuyong's army. The demon gave the order to the demonic race to exterminate the city. Tuyong's eyes began to shine with confusion. He started observing Jiang Xuanji and asked if he was crazy. He had spent decades defending and now he was willing to declare total war on his demonic race. He questioned whether Jiang Xuanji wasn't afraid of unleashing a war between all races for the small city of Kujiang. He couldn't believe that Jiang Xuanji was willing to unleash a war just for some simple geniuses. With an angry expression, Jiang Xuanji attacked using his axe, but Tuyong reacted in time and blocked the attack. For Jiang Xuanji this was worth it since from ancient times, whoever dared offend Great Xia was punished with death. He made it clear that if Tuyong killed his geniuses, he would take his head as a trophy. At the same time, the subordinate of the ancient god arrived at the battlefield of Kujiang. She began to fly and her attention was fixed on Zhang's domain. While her body was surrounded by evil energy, she crossed her arms and couldn't help but smile. Realizing that this was Zhang Chen's domain, she couldn't believe that the Spider Queen had been defeated with this trick. She revealed that a simple domain was nothing in front of her. She used her power and launched a powerful slash of energy toward the attack was so powerful that in an instant it broke our boy's domain. Zhang, who was holding the sword, fell to his knees on the ground. The Spider Queen turned around and upon seeing the aura of the 7th seat, she quickly realized that it was the aura of the ancient god. Zhang, who was exhausted, stuck his sword into the ground and with the help of his hand, tried to stand up, but he was unable. Our boy began to observe the 7th seat, and it didn't take long for him to realize that this was the energy of an awakened one of 9 transformations. He couldn't move, and even if he could, he had no strength left to keep fighting. Her eyes began to shine with malice, and with a smile she decided to introduce herself. She was the seventh seat of the Church of the Ancient God, called the Lover. For her it was an honor to meet Jang. She extended her hand toward our boy, and using her powers began making the bodies of insects float. She decided to send Jang and the insects to the underworld. Jang's attention focused on the insects, and upon seeing that they had shown their original form, it didn't take him long to realize that she had great power. She extended her hand toward Jang and decided to launch fireworks, causing the bodies of the insects to explode into pieces. Little Nine, who was sitting on Jiang's shoulder, couldn't help but cry, asking him to protect her. Jiang clenched his teeth and asked her not to be afraid, explaining that if she hid well, nothing would happen. The Lover began to make Jiang's body float, and seeing that he was not satisfied, she decided to turn him into fireworks as well. Our boy clenched his teeth tightly, not knowing what to do. Her power was so strong that Jai Gang and the others fell to their knees on the ground, and their eyes widened in fear. They didn't know who was going to save Jiang now that everyone had been trapped by the energy of the Lover. Ying Zhan's eyes began to shine with hatred. He started sweating and revealed that they were all going to die. Jiang's body was flying upside down. He started to scream, giving the order to Jai Og to manifest and release the dark demon. Just then, blue energy appeared around his body, and from it emerged the dark demon. The beast's eyes began to shine with rage. Once the dark demon fully emerged from Jiang's body, it began to stare at the Lover with a penetrating gaze, and upon seeing such a powerful creature, she became confused, not knowing how Jiang could summon such a creature. The eyes of the dark demon began to shine, and its body started releasing energy. Our boy's body descended to the ground. He forcefully nailed the sword into the ground, and with an angry expression told her that she should not have killed the insects, revealing that now she was going to die. The dark demon opened its mouth and began to charge a powerful energy ball, instead of fleeing. The Lover began to release the energy of the ancient god. She decided to use the power of the god to protect herself from the attack. Jiang's attention was fixed on her, and his eyes widened with seriousness. Jai Og manifested on his shoulder, explaining that although the seventh seat was no match for the dark demon, it still needed some time to defeat her, since it could only act for 10 seconds, otherwise it would be destroyed by celestial mandate. Time was running out, but with a calm expression, our boy explained that there was no other option. He decided it was better for the dark demon to disappear along with the seventh seat. At that moment, Jiang's sister and a soldier from Zhangguanzi appeared. With an angry gaze, she struck her sword hard at the Lover's neck, revealing that she had come to save Jiang Chen. Shen Tufei from the Blue Dragon camp of the god-slaying army announced his arrival and swung his sword forcefully, making it clear that he was not going to allow the demonic creatures to wreak havoc. A powerful flash of energy appeared in the sky, seeing that the celestial mandate had arrived. Jiang Chen gave the order to Jai Og to absorb the dark demon. Jai Og nodded his head, then opened his mouth and absorbed the dark demon. Jiang's sister's sword pierced through the Lover's body, causing her terrible pain. She opened her mouth and with a desperate gaze begged them not to kill her, revealing that she could tell them a secret. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part,